Welcome back to another episode of We Talk Fit
with Mish and Dean.
Cool. I'll move this a little bit there. We're going to chat about
myths.
Things
we've heard.
Yeah. Which some of them will be myths. Some of them might be true. Or might have some basis in some truth. But
yeah,
people have made the rest up as they go.
Yeah, pretty much.
So stuff we hear, stuff that it doesn't make sense, doesn't work that way. Probably
doesn't
needs
work with physiology, biology.
Yeah.
Or like things that are completely wrong, and some things that are, like you say, got a bit of basis around them, but not quite truth. Chinese whispers, so to speak.
And some of which we will have talked about or touched on in the past, but maybe just look at them again and give a bit of a fresh take on them, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, I don't want to get too bulky. So, I would have lost count of
the
particularly female clients
times,
that would have come out with that one.
It's going to be a bit blunt, but the only reason why you often look bulky is because you're holding a lot of body fat.
Yeah, okay. So like that.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but like you got a bit of muscle underneath, and then when you sort of talk about bulky,
mm-hmm.
It's terms of training clients, in terms of, I guess, from my opinion, with training clients for comps, when you're going through a bulking phase, you're tending to put on small amounts of body fat, go through a bulk to build muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough that you're really big or whatever like that, but you tend to go through a bulk phase to then cut to show the muscle underneath.
Yeah. So the process, right? So there's a few parts of that.
Yes.
So the
wording of it.
Yeah. So there's the wording of it. There's what different people's opinion of being bulky is,
Mm-hmm.
because
what their views are.
Obviously, to generalize, I think most men would have a slightly different opinion on what that means than most women.
Mm-hmm.
But even within that, I have female clients, for instance, that tell me they don't want muscly this or muscly that. So there's like a few different parts of that same discussion. Mm-hmm. I think just to underline it again, we have said it before, but you are 100% correct. When you are in a surplus of calories to build, let's say, to build muscle tissue,
mm-hmm.
the chances of you building only muscle tissue are basically
very,
you'd have to be so precise.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, you will be building some body fat and some water retention and some muscle.
Mm-hmm.
If we are in a bulk.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of said period, and you are planning to then display the muscle that you've built, you would then cut as much of the body fat that you have gained back away from it whilst maintaining the muscle tissue.
Yes.
That's what we're looking at?
Yep. But most people who say, I don't want to get too bulky,
mm-hmm.
General population, most clients who don't have a full understanding of that process.
Yeah.
Like when we hear that saying, it is mostly, so that's my view on it,
mm-hmm.
but it's mostly people's understanding that, and when they say I don't want to get too bulky, is I don't want to get too muscly.
Okay. Right.
Is the way that I hear it from. I've heard that from clients. I don't want to get too bulky. Like, is that okay? Yeah. Don't want to get bulky, as in you don't want to put on muscle mass. You don't want to get tone. Yeah. You don't like what.
Yeah.
I'd have to ask them to expand it a little bit.
I quite like it in a way when we narrow that conversation down and then we understand that that's what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want too much muscle, like particularly a female that doesn't want to look like, you could go down the rabbit hole of it, and I don't want to look manly and all this shit. And then we go back to we chatted about it a few weeks ago, just the actual process of building that much muscle tissue where you start to look jacked, muscly, dominant in one area, like big quads, but whatever it might be, is so difficult.
It's so hard.
And I would probably say 90% of the people that have concerns over that are so far from being able to do that. And I don't mean
Yeah.
that in a disrespectful way either, because you have to then deliver that message in an
They're
unpatronizing way.
they're unable to, more so because they have a lack of understanding of the process.
Yeah, not
And
physically unable, just
a lack of understanding of the process to be able to do it.
yeah.
And actually how hard and how time consuming it is. Yes, I agree.
So there's that part of it. And then, I mean, we were just chatting about obviously these topics earlier. And it's like, if let's say you're in that bulk stage
Mhm.
and people are talking about like, oh no, let's just talk about like the difference between surpluses of calories and deficits and things like that, and what is required to be lean and what is required to be bigger. We're talking about bigger muscle tissue and stuff.
Mhm.
With that bulk comes that excess body fat. So if someone, let's go junk food related, and someone's going, so let's say it's a little bit of a dirty bulk,
Dirty bulk.
which I'm not opposed to, by the way. I live in the real world. But let's just say this whole thing about, oh, well, I had a pizza, so I'm going to go for an extra run. Or I'm going to do 20 minutes on the end of my session tomorrow or whatever. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Well, first of all, that mindset.
I think mindset can be unhealthy,
Yeah.
to be honest, because then you're almost punishing yourself.
Yeah. You're starting to turn your workouts into punishment gain, which isn't a healthy relationship long term.
Mhm. Um, but I think having an awareness, like there's a fine line. There's a very fine line between turning your workouts into punishment to burn those calories off that you've eaten,
Yeah.
or understanding that if you've kept all your other meals in normal for the day and then added in a pizza or added in a whatever Macca's meal or this or that or whatever it might be, that then you're not in a calorie deficit anymore if that's your aim to be losing body fat. You
Yeah.
are now in a surplus, so then you need to do more activity.
Yeah. I think
There's a fine line between punishing yourself
yeah.
and then actually understanding what movement you need to do to make sure that you're not.
I think that's where my hang up with it is. It's not like it doesn't really matter whether you're in a deficit and the pizza is going to put you in a surplus, right? Or whether you're in a bulk and you've hit your macros for the day, so you know you've got your surplus from good quality nutrient dense food, and then suddenly you have some junk food on top. It's the same thing at the end of the day. You've got a surplus now of something that you weren't intending on having.
Yeah.
My hang up on it is probably more at the side of it where people go, I can do, I don't know, like something as stupid as 15 minutes of sit-ups like sets of sit-ups at the end of my session, or I can do a sprint session on the treadmill and burn it off. And it's not as simple as that.
No, no, it's not.
Like the actual
We were
amount
talking
of
about that with like when I was in school only yesterday. No, for the
if you were at school yesterday, it's a fair while
they're
longer than
worrying.
that since I was there. Yeah.
um, and I remember another girl that was my age, and she would do that. So she had a pie and a Red Bull or a Coke or whatever it was, and a Boost bar, like a chocolate bar or whatever. So, I've got to go and run now. I've got to do an hour's run because I've eaten all this. And I'm just going, that's not enjoyable
Nah.
at all. What a way to live.
Nah.
Like, what makes you, like, that's not fun.
But like what I was trying to, that's just not healthy at all. But not necessarily like not healthy the food choices, which that's a separate discussion. Fine in small doses, I would say.
Yeah.
What I mean is not a healthy way of thinking about it. So like, what I was trying to get at was we've talked about like different types of cardio before, right?
Mhm.
But if we're just trying to like the metabolism side of burning excess calories,
Mhm.
it's more about, you might correct me if I'm wrong, but we talk about like steady cardio and intense cardio.
Yeah.
It can be steady exercise, intense exercise, or whatever. But what does a coach do when they're trying to get you into a calorie deficit and get you really lean? They increase your steady cardio, where you're just burning calories in the background at that lower intensity rate. Now, yes, you might do sprints and you might do something intense as well. That's what I'm on about, is to burn that surplus body fat. That's what you're going to be doing, not I had X, Y, and Z yesterday. I'm going to.
Most and people also don't realize either. So any activity that you do is bonus. It's the intake, and actually, when you're sleeping, your BMR, so your
Yeah.
basal metabolic rate, that's gonna that burns most calories.
Yeah.
And then you're actually, it's like, and like the more muscle you have. So I don't want to get too bulky. Don't want to. The more muscle you have, the more food you can actually eat.
So that's linked into one of the other points that we're going to chat about as well. So that's good, because
Lead into it.
hopefully you can segue into that. So the more muscle tissue you have, the harder it is, the less easy it is to maintain fat, basically. Kind of.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yep.
So you're going to build, depends on each person's specific, but you're going to build the two. If you're in a bulk surplus, you're going to build the two. You're going to strip one away, hopefully, in an ideal world. But what I'm meaning is, if you're a leaner and you have more muscle mass per, it's going to be a lot harder to hold on to body fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's the other one. It's like people go, oh. So that's when the understanding of what you think the word bulk means. Okay, because a lot of guys like generally don't mind if they just look fuller.
Yeah.
Because they can look fuller in a t-shirt and fill their sleeves and, stretch the chest of the t-shirt and look, generally the more typically masculine things.
Mm-hmm.
But if they want to look bigger with a shirt off, that's when you're going to need some definition.
Yeah.
And that's when you're going more towards the difference between muscle tissue and just size.
Yes.
Or mass, if you will.
Yeah.
Had a few tangents there.
There was a few on that little one, wasn't there?
Sorry, mate. So I know one of the points on there, I'm just going to chop and change through this list that we've got in front of us here, and you're going to try and follow me, like the worst, like the worst GPS system you've ever used. The protein shake
Make a
one.
U-turn when possible.
Wrong way. Please go back. Protein shakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
You aren't using protein shakes at the minute, are you?
No.
Or not? You're not using many supplements at all, really?
I'm actually off supplements at the moment. Yes.
Cool. That's really, really good. That's really, really good. I am not. Although mine
I
are
am
very.
about due to, I was going to start introducing it again, but I went basically a cycle, so I went off all supplements.
Yeah. Mine are very basic anyway. Pre-workouts, vitamins and minerals in the morning, protein shakes. So the one I want to touch on is protein shakes, right? Because I have a teenage son. His mates all ask me questions, and I try and give dad advice on that, as well as like PT advice. But obviously, we get asked questions all the time. Protein shakes are not. This is something that's been written down. Protein shakes are not basically steroids.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're way past that these days. But back in the day, I can remember when creatine and protein were looked at as like these performance enhancing drugs and stuff, right? It's ridiculous. My take on it, as I'm sure you would agree, because we have touched on it, is, are protein shakes necessary or very important to building
Are they optimal
tissue? I would say no. They can be very helpful
if you're struggling
but
to
it's
get
not
your protein in.
Yes, absolutely. So always leaning on nutrient dense, good quality foods. Get your protein intake from good quality whole food sources.
Yep.
And if that's not sustainable, achievable every day,
Different diet preferences.
yeah, the supplement can do just that. It can supplement your diet and give you that little toggle for that help. And then it becomes very beneficial.
Yeah.
Which is what I do.
Yeah.
So for convenience, to make sure I hit my protein count per day, I'll typically have a protein shake per day. So if it's obviously a training day, it'll normally be straight after training with some quick carbs. But if I'm on like a rest day or a quieter day, then I might still have a protein shake that day, but it'll just be at a more convenient time when I can sit and enjoy it.
Yeah.
I won't be sitting, but I'll.
See and enjoy it. Yeah. Well, when depends on what I'm trialing with my diet and what I'm doing. When I was struggling to hit protein, then yeah, I was having protein shakes because it was, like I say, it was convenient. It was easier to implement, easier to have, and top up my diet. Um, but mostly I have, your chicken, your steak, fish, because I eat meat.
You're
So
good with that stuff as well,
I
though.
do try and have all of that within my week. Um, and I do ensure as well, which I've noticed a little bit with your protein, is a lot of people won't have any protein in their breakfast,
Yeah,
and
it's
then
a
they're
huge one.
hungry by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Their
Yeah.
breakfast say might be 7 o'clock or whatever, and they're hungry
It's
by
such a
9:30.
difficult one because, like, on a societal level, everyone's got in the habit of, first of all, not eating breakfast. And second of all, the breakfast that we have is instant, like quick,
Sugary
sugary.
cereals.
Yeah, it's hard banging that same drum all the time. But yeah, that's a huge one.
Yeah. So that's something that I have noticed in regards to protein and being able to actually, that would be if you're having a cereal for breakfast, you're not having much protein in your breakfast. Protein shake would be perfect.
Yeah, protein smoothie.
Something like that.
I've kind of I've gone quite old school with that one with a lot of my clients, and I'll go like eggs on toast or something. So you're not having as much
We've been
protein.
discussing. I had that with had that discussion only a couple of days ago with a friend of mine. I was having like
I like meet
was
them
he
in the
having
middle.
seven wheat bix in the morning, and he's hungry by 10, and I'm like, "Is that all you're having for your breakfast?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, we might need a if you want, you could do
Yeah,
this, this, and this." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And that's why there used to be eggs on toast, and eggs and bacon, and whatever.
I'm pretty old school with that stuff now. Like
I'm
my
an eggs
kids,
on
I do that
toast.
with my kids. Like, particularly when Leanne and I did the carnivore stuff, we got into that habit of, your eggs and your bacon and your sausage, like real old school stuff that
Yeah,
for a while people were going, that's so unhealthy having that every day. It's actually not. It's actually so the other way. But like my
just go
daughter now,
the lower fat stuff, so you're not having. So if you're on a normal diet, not carnivore,
yeah,
you can still have all that, but just watch your fat intake
yeah,
with it.
be sensible with it. But like my daughter now has picked up on some of those habits, and like, I don't know, 5 out of 7 days we'll have, whether it's like scrambled eggs, poached eggs, or something, and a couple of rashers of bacon. And the difference in her now, obviously, my daughter's activity level is very, very active,
Very high.
needs constant stimulation and stuff. But the difference with her behavior, um, attention, mental acuteness, maybes, and stuff like that, when she's had a good breakfast compared to and she's 10.
Yeah,
So she's not doing anything wrong,
but
but
it
she's going
makes
to
a
come out, jump out of bed
difference.
some
Yeah,
mornings and want a sugary bowl of cereal.
yeah,
But what I found as a parent is if they're desperate for that coming out of bed, and then you're suddenly giving them that dopamine rush of there's the instant gratification with sugar, instant carbs, and like quick release fuel,
mm, yeah,
it's just not a great mix. So yeah, I've noticed a huge difference.
yeah.
Um, and if that's like how would you put it, like if she's like a little petri dish of a test scenario,
Test subject.
right?
Yeah,
Imagine what that's doing for everybody else out there.
yeah,
So yeah, cook breakfasts if you can. If you can't, meet yourself in the middle and go, okay, well, I'm going to have a nice slice of toast with some butter on or whatever.
yeah.
Have a couple of poached eggs on it or some scrambled egg.
Mhm.
Nice bit of sea salt cracked on there. Well, it doesn't have to be, I'm boring as batshit though, so stuff like that is nice for me.
Yes, but that's what I have. Like I'm the same. Simple,
Yeah.
easy, done, fed, satiated.
And then hopefully, if you get your protein levels right, you won't be feeling as hungry as quickly.
Hmm.
One thing
Yeah.
I want to mention about protein, not necessarily potentially, or protein supplements, sorry, or protein
Sorry. Yep.
powder,
Yep. Yep.
are good. thing that is valuable for is if you are trying to hit certain macros of like clean proteins and fats, so like your Greek yogurts and things like that, but you're struggling with flavors and stuff, you can use things like a protein powder. Like you could mix like a half scoop of protein powder, so you're getting a good, I don't know, 15 grams of good clean protein with your Greek yogurt.
Yeah.
Whip it
Makes
up
sense.
into like a chocolate mousse or something, or
Yeah.
depending on what flavor you've got.
Yeah.
But it suddenly makes something that might not have been as attractive
Be delicious.
or as flavoursome be a little bit nicer and a bit more of a, I don't know, taste more like a dessert rather than just a.
I do that sometimes.
There's
So I've
options for that stuff.
got a yogurt actually at the moment that I'm loving, and it's Paul brand, and it's got chocolate in it.
Right.
And you mix the chocolate through it or whatever. It's like a chocolate sauce kind of
Okay.
thing through it. And then I put that in a bowl, put like blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries all in it. And then I have Jordan's clusters kind of muesli and put that in
Oh,
there
yeah.
and then mix that all through and it's delicious. But that Paul's yogurt is 15 grams of protein per serve as well. So
Oh, cool.
it's
Good amount in there. I'm fond of like the yogurt
yogurt produce
protein.
and stuff.
Well, like, yeah, that, or just even
It's-
Greek yogurt with protein to turn it into whatever you want, and
Yeah.
then berries and stuff. The trick I found, because I'm a greedy bastard when it comes to cereal, is like quantities, and then your mueslis, your granolas, those things which taste fantastic. You just got to watch because sometimes they can have a lot of sugar in.
Yep, they can.
And then oats in general.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, again, we're talking back to that little bit more keto carnivore side of things. When I removed oats, because I used to eat a lot of porridge oats, rolled oats, those things.
Yep.
My gut health is,
Better.
this is a personal thing,
I'm the same. I bloated on that.
infinitely better.
Yeah.
Less bloating, less uncomfortableness, less gas, all of that stuff that comes with a higher protein diet. And I haven't gone back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Or,
So I did that ages ago. Eggs actually used to make me bloat, and I can eat them now, no dramas. And I do the same with oats. So there's certain foods that I actually have to cycle, and then I'm fine again because I've just had too much.
That's also a good point about general diets and training methodologies is be cyclical with them. You can do things for a period and then ease back into something else for a period. Nothing has to be forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even with diets and stuff like that. What I wanted to touch on, which was point 2 of what I was the
Rosie.
well, we kind of talked about breakfast and the importance of it, but Eula heard this one as well about eating late at night.
Mm-hmm.
Or like eating it, I can't eat at 7 p.m. because it'll turn into fat or whatever. What are your thoughts on, as a little bit of this goes into nutrient timing, which is an important conversation. What are your thoughts on that generally?
So if the person's goal is to lose body fat and they don't want to eat after a certain time, that's fine. And if they feel better for it, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But if you're in a deficit, not gonna bloody matter. Unless you're waking up at 12 o'clock in the morning, go for chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the same.
Like,
Generally speaking, the most common times I come across this, I think so many people worry about stuff like that when you, like
they've
you
got
say,
so many other things to
they're not
worry
worried about the bigger picture. They're either trying to be in a deficit and they're in a surplus, or vice versa. If everything else is in place, and then we're looking at timing. So I had a conversation yesterday with someone that was saying they're on a lower carb diet at the minute. So I would encourage them, common sense, right? If you are moving around more at a certain point of the day, or if you are training, let's get the carbs that you are going to have around that. So if it's prior to fuel the movement, or if it's after to aid quicker recovery from the movement, it's probably going to be better. Not all the time, but it's most likely going to be better
around
than
that.
starving yourself all day of carbs and then rewarding yourself at the end of the day with them,
Smash it at
because
night.
they are more likely to be stored then than used. That would be my only.
Or more likely also to binge
Okay, from that side of it, yeah, that's a good point.
as well. Like
Yep.
then you go through all day like starving yourself essentially. You end up absolutely ravenous because you haven't eaten your carbs and your protein and everything from your training or your movement,
Yeah,
whatever you're doing. You get to nighttime and you are, you have your carbs around that time, and then you're like,
yeah,
just gonna have some more.
that's also.
I'm gonna have some more here, and then I'm gonna have some more.
It's difficult.
And then instead of being like, in a low carb diet, or if you're in that in a deficit, you end up being up here.
That's also back to that protein thing. That's where I started doing that. So when I was on, because we were on zero carbs for a while,
Mhm.
that's where I would have that protein with the yogurt and stuff. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when I was that was like the worst point for me. I could give myself something that felt like I was having a bit of a dessert kind of
Carby treat.
flavor and sugary treat, but it wasn't. So that's where I found that was a really cool.
But you're choosing your treat that it's like a treat, but it still fits in with what you're doing,
Yeah.
and then not binging or not. Okay.
So generally speaking, I would encourage, just like we do with our carbs, air them more towards the movement side of your day. But yeah, that's if everything else is in place first. Did you want to jump on any of those other points that we've got there? Do you think any of them link into this more closely, or do you want to leave some of those other ones for next time? Generally speaking, number 4, which we have mentioned before there.
Yeah, well, number 4, carbs make me fat, right? Which is what we were just sort of talking about.
It's not the carbs that make you fat.
It's a surplus.
It's the surplus of calories that you're not using.
Yeah.
Now, it might be carbs, it might be fat. It could even be protein. Because guess what? If you have way too much protein, it's not going to get
the
used.
same thing.
It's the surplus of calories.
Yeah.
But so carbs per se don't make you fat.
It's the surplus of food, the surplus of calories, whether they're fats, carbs, protein, whatever it is that you're eating. That is what makes you fat.
And I'd say more to the point,
bluntly.
carbs are especially if it's performance related goals, and that can be many different things. Carbs are going to be very, very important.
Beneficial, yes. Needed. You don't see LeBron James or Dusty Martin or whoever
Name someone more relevant.
not eating carbs.
Yeah.
Like,
You need, yeah, it's so
do
important.
ya?
Yeah.
Like, they're not. Yeah, like.
Fuel prior, recovery immediately after. Yeah, your performance isn't going to be there. And then if we've talked about intensity recently.
Mhm.
You try and train really intensely to build tissue if you haven't got carbs.
Man, you stop, and when we went through testing giving a trial, seeing what it was like with carnivore diet, and the energy drop I would have in my session was ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't train half as intense.
That explosive power that you're looking for just isn't there. Like, it isn't. There's outliers and people that can use fats for fuel more like readily than other people, but generally speaking, fats can be used as fuel for other things, like your endurance athletes and stuff have learned ways to do that scenario. But again, that's back to that slower burn that we talked about at the start.
Yeah.
Quick, intense stuff. If you're trying to set a PB 3 rep max on your bench press, tell us how the 3rd rep feels if you're on no carbs.
Yeah.
Or the 2nd rep maybe.
Yeah.
Cool.
Coolio.
You happy to leave it there for today?
Yeah, most of the ones we did, like nutrition and stuff, we'll do the other ones another time.
Cool. Thank you very much, mate.
Easy.
Cheers.
Thank you.